So let's see who else we have on the roster.
I'm thinking Tymm.
Tymm, let's see. Yep, I think so. So Plato's great year believes the Reichardt structure, the Eye of Sarah, could be Atlantis. Fascinating. So
I'm going to need some explanations on that one because that's just a bunch of words. I have no idea how they connect to reality.
So, Tymm, thank you for calling in. Give us what that is, please.
Okay, so I'll start with the great year. There's a Platonic theory. Plato introduced the great year, which separates the sun's progression through the ages into different ages: the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, and Iron Age. And it separates it in even further with ascending and descending. And as the sun goes through the procession of the ages, which is clockwise through the zodiac, we're heading from the age of Pisces into the age of Aries, or into the age of Aquarius, meaning that the sun is moving into the zodiac sign or the constellation of Aquarius. And each age means a different thing, and actually sort of, I guess, for lack of a better word, and probably not really empirically, but will move humankind into different ways of thinking, such as to kind of give a picture, Moses would be the archetype for the age of Aries, as the story goes. He kills the golden calf. He destroys the golden calf that Aaron, his brother, makes.
So you say, what makes Moses associated with Aries? Like what aspects of his character specifically?
Well, first of all, he introduces the sacrifice of the rams at the temple. The blowing of the shofar starts, and he destroys the bull, which is Taurus, which comes before the age of Aries. So he ends the age of Taurus by destroying the golden calf. And so the age of,
so it's because of the animal symbology in the astrological signs associating with stories from I'm assuming from the Bible. And when were these astrological signs divined and named and set down?
Well, okay, so this is where I am not really sure, but I do know that the Sumerians gave us these symbols, the symbology.
And you're certain that they associated with a ram and a bull? You're not, because I'm not going to go down the road of like, well, they wouldn't know who Ares was, because Ares is of course a Greek god's name. But the ram and the bull, and you're associated. You're certain that the Sumerians saw a ram and a bull.
Yes, and
how do you from where are you getting that? Like, what is your evidence for that? Do you have any particular texts or historical evidences, any kind of archaeological finds that back that up?
To be honest, not at the top of my head, but what gave me this idea, why I do believe this, is Timothy Frake and Peter Gandy's book, The Jesus Mysteries, and it talks about all of the other mystery religions within the past.
Okay. So I'm going to just stop you right there for a second, because I have not read those texts. I don't know what they say or what's in them.
I also have a couple of other questions, because I want to get a little bit more basic. You're talking about, we're in this age and we move from that age to a new age, and you're saying that it's based upon the sun and the different constellations. What separates these ages? How does that fit into each other, and how do we then see what age we are in? Is it just the
relative position of the sun and the stars? Is that what?
Well, yeah,
yes,
but when it comes to,
it has to do with the equinox.
okay,
It has to do with the equinox.
Well, which one?
So, let's see. I think the way that I'm going, which is Aries, Pisces, Aquarius, I believe that it is the vernal equinox.
Okay.
And if you go opposite of that, then it's the autumnal equinox. So whatever is opposite, if you think of the zodiac as a clock, and so,
it's a clock because it's around the Earth. I get that,
and there happens to be 12 signs as well. But
and then, as I was talking about earlier, with how the precession of the Earth's axis does change over time, is that taken into account? Or are we still using old things? And if that's the case, then it's not really based upon the stars as it is. It's based upon, well, as it was. It should have a self-correcting mechanism in there, but we still are going by older. Like, I'm not a Scorpio, if that's the case, right?
I mean, as I say, I'm a layman when it comes to astrology as a subject in general.
I'm pretty layman as well, but I do know, when I took an astronomy class, we did discuss how the Earth's precession of the axis, we got that 23.5 degree angle, and that is also changing.
Yeah. And so the stars in the sky that our ancestors saw is not the same sky that we see now. Though
it's the same sky, it's just different position.
A little bit different, yeah. But we also know that these stars are heavenly bodies. They are physical, they are out there, and they are moving, and they are moving fast. So did they take into account all of that? Because they couldn't possibly have known about phenomena like universal expansion or redshift.
Didn't have the lifespans to know that.
Yeah. And also, one real question is that what evidences do you have that this is not just pareidolia and coincidence? These stars look a bit like that, and we're just going to determine that. And is there any power in any of this? Can you demonstrate any power in any of these predictions?
Well, okay. So you're actually asking someone who is still sort of studying it, but still believes it. And I'm not an astrophysicist. I don't know how the stars are moving when. However, the reliefs that we have of the god Mithras, he's standing as surrounded by the 12 signs of the zodiac.
So do you believe that this Mithras character was a real divine being?
No, I don't believe in God at all.
Okay.
I believe that what they are, all of these Mithras, Tammuz, Jesus, Moses, Joshua, they're all archetypes that are stories based on astrotheology.
But I would counter that the theories of the monomyth and the fact that we have shared storytelling and that these characters and archetypes pop up all over the world in many different traditions, and that because we are all people and we have emotions, we have these base themes in our stories. And I'm really not convinced so far that astrology or any of these connections is anything more than just a fiction based on basic observations of patterns of stars that are arbitrary. They are arbitrary. Like, the ram doesn't look like a ram. It looks like a few dots in the sky. You know, Aries does not look like Aries does not look like a ram. Sagittarius does not look like the archer or whatever, and Capricorn doesn't look like a scorpion. Scorpio doesn't look like a scorpion. They just look like a few dots in the sky. And
Orion isn't actually a hunter.
No, and different cultures give these different constellations different names because they see a different pattern in them. So
I will say though, in fairness, we don't see as many of the stars because of the light pollution. If you go to, it still looks like just the major dots and a few other dots that I can kind of. They're filling things in. It's that whole pareidolia of trying to find patterns where none actually exist. But one of the things you said, Tymm, that I would like to kind of hit on a little bit is that you said you're not an astrophysicist, that you haven't studied too deep into this, and I would say that you don't necessarily need to have the degree to talk further on this to debunk it. It's all about falsifying it within yourself, and you can start building, just like we had the call earlier, building yourself a little toolkit of understanding and of reason. You've already started that journey by reading the books that you have. You're standing on the shoulders of giants, and I would encourage you to keep doing that, to look into some of the sciences behind astronomy, and maybe that it may not destroy the astrology that you have, but at least you can then say, hey, I now have this new toolkit that I can then apply to these mythos. And it may take you somewhere where you didn't even know you were going.
Yeah, and I would say that if you believe that these predictions and that this procession is going to change humans' minds in some way, I'd say take a leaf out of the scientific method, and instead of trying to find evidence to prove yourself right and reinforce your beliefs, do everything you can to try and prove it wrong. Because that's the only way you're going to find if something's actually robust, by trying to see if it's wrong rather than trying to prove that it's right. What do you think about that?
I think it's great, and you guys have actually told me pretty much everything that I've been doing. So, I mean, I have been looking into this for about 6 years and just kind of doing it. And what I'm basically saying is all of these mythos that we have are all based on astrotheology. They're all stories about what's been going on for the last at least 10,000 years since the cuneiform and the Sumerians actually created the pictures in the sky that we now recognize as many of the zodiacs. And it's not that I believe necessarily that they actually move humanity to, they're not the reason why humanity moves in these different ways. It's that it just simply happens as we progress, that the ages do kind of coincide. The age of Pisces being the age of fish, and Jesus being the archetype of the fisherman.
But I'd push back on that. We have fished. We have fished since, it's one of the main forms of food. It's why civilizations grow up around rivers and on coasts.
No. It doesn't have to do with the fact that we are fishermen. I'm talking about the archetype of the fact that he fed the thousands by loaves and fishes. He called fishermen to be his disciples.
And I see that's coincidence.
Well, no, I don't think that is coincidence. I think that, okay, so a lot of atheists will say that a lot of Christianity is a marketing decision. And I also subscribe to that idea as well, that they took from pagan mythology things that they like, things that have convinced people of the past, packaged that up as something that they can then present to someone else. Now, am I telling you, oh, you're just wrong and that's how it has to be? Again, if we're presented with the right evidence, our thoughts can change. I would say that, maybe look into why this myth over here seems so similar to this one, especially when the one that comes after that can look back and say, oh, this convinced a bunch of people.
Okay, I just want to, there is something just came to my head. So the age of Pisces, so that is a defined period of time. So from what year to what year is the age of Pisces?
Okay, so each of the ages are around 2,400 years, according to the Great Year.
Okay, and so at what year does what year does the age of Pisces start, approximately?
There is a lot of different speculation as to that, but we are about ending the age of Pisces now. We are heading into the age of Aquarius.
So you'd say if I went back 3,000 years,
Aquarius since the 60s.
So if I say, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I do have a point here. If I go back to before 1000 BC, right? Do you feel confident that I'm the other side of the age of Pisces?
Go back 1,000 years?
No, 3,000 years. You said that we're just about to leave the age of Pisces, and these ages are about 2,400 years long. If I go back 3,000 years, then 600 more years into the past than the age, am I going to be out of the age of Pisces and in the age of Aries? Then the Moses time.
You would still be in the age of Aries.
Okay.
It wouldn't be Moses time, but it would be the archetype of Moses, and it would be toward the end of the age of Aries.
So if I found significant stories and significant theology around fish imagery and fishermen from before the age of Pisces, what would that do to your model? Because I'm pretty confident that I could. I don't have any right now. I'd be happy to do a bit of research and post it. But are you confident enough that the age of Pisces is the age of Pisces because of Jesus, or Jesus is the representative of the age of Pisces because Pisces is the fish? Are you that confident in it that you would be happy to say, I don't think there's anything as significant as the story of the loaves and the fishes in any culture previously to 1,500 BC?
What I would say is, like Mithras, like Moses, like Tammuz, who are all representative of the movement from the age of Taurus into Aries. If you found other stories 600 years before the beginning of Age of Pisces, who have the fisherman type archetype, that they would be like Jesus, one of the archetypes. Jesus just happens to be the more common one.
To us,
I don't
more well known.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
It doesn't mean that he's the only. It just means that he was the one.
No, but you've dipped into another age. You've dipped into a previous age, and so what we would call this in common vernacular.
No. What we're doing is, as we're moving, we are actually talking about what's coming up in the age. It doesn't necessarily have to be right at the beginning of the age. It could actually be, okay, we are moving from.
Well, that gives me another 2,400 years to find a significant fish story person. I mean, your model is very muddy. There's so much vagary in there, as far as I can see. Yeah, moving the goalposts.
Moving it around. Just moving it around.
So, I mean, thank you for sharing it with us. And you are still doing the research. So I'm not going to nail you down to it too much. I'm going to, for my own interest, I'm going to see what fish-related stories there are before 2000 or 3000 BC, or 1000 BC or before, just for my own edification. But I'm personally not particularly convinced with the efficacy of this model as it pertains to the significance of these stories, these signs, and these people. What do you say, Jason?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat on that one. It sounds like, okay, we've got this age, it's there, and we're talking about it, and then we're not talking about it. So it could be, well, we're moving it. No, we're moving the goalposts, and I urge you to not let that happen, to not move that goalpost, to keep it planted firm, and get some of that evidence, some of those researches that is a lot more firm in, because it's just going back to astrology.
And then there's other questions. Why Jesus? Why not Jonah? If you're talking biblical people with fish, he got swallowed by a fish, and that was in the previous age. So thank you for calling in. We do appreciate it. Do feel free to call us back another time if you have further evidences or more compelling stuff. But I think we're going to let you go just now. Thank you for calling in, Tim.